I am the wrong doctor in the story of the domineering boss's wife. At 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, the domineering boss's canary fell off the bed, and he called me over. There's no way he gave too much. I just consider it as extra money. Until one day I suddenly heard his voice. My wife looks so abstinent in a white shirt. I want to tear her clothes off. Wife, you mean me? 01. It's just a minor scrape. Just be careful these few days and don't let the wound come into contact with water. I spoke calmly to the handsome man in front of me. His name is Damon, he is 2 years younger than me, and he is a domineering and ruthless boss. The delicate woman lying on the bed was named Lydia, the canary raised by Damon. Damon treated her like a treasure. Whenever she had a minor bump or sneeze, he would call me to treat her. Tonight, Lydia accidentally fell off the bed and scraped her elbow, so he called me over in a hurry. If I came a little later, the wound would probably have healed. I put on my medicine box and resigned. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now. Lydia, have a good rest. Damon walked me out of the house. I politely declined. Damon, you don't have to see me off. You can go back and take care of Lydia. I looked at Damon blankly, but his mouth clearly didn't move. I asked in confusion, Damon, what are you talking about? Damon was stunned. I didn't say anything. I laughed dryly. Oh, maybe I heard it wrong. I walked to the door and Damon opened it for me. Thank you. It's been a pain. I walked past Damon, his voice coming back into my head. My wife looks so abstinent in a white shirt. I want to tear his clothes off. He smells so good. What shower gel does he use? I startled and looked up at Damon again. He pursed his lips tightly, still with a serious expression. He asked me back, what's wrong? Nothing. Nothing. I adjusted my mood. What about my wife abstaining from sex? It must be my hallucination. Damon, bye. Damon nodded. Goodbye. After he answered this, I heard him say again in my mind, it's so hard to see my wife. I want to spend some time with her. Can you please not leave in such a hurry? Damn it. Where does this sound come from? I was so scared that I left in a hurry. When I got home, I looked at my phone. As usual, Damon transferred me 10,000 yuan as consultation fee. Actually, I just cleaned Lydia's wound and applied some iodine. But I feel at ease with the 10,000 yuan I earned. I have to work during the day and have Damon on call at night, so this money is my mental compensation. When Damon saw that I clicked to receive the payment, he immediately sent me a message. Have you arrived home yet? Me. Just arrived. Thanks, Damon, for your concern. I will ask the driver to pick you up from now on. It is not safe to drive at night. I complained in my mind. Even though you knew it wasn't safe, didn't you still call me over 2 or 3 times every month? I politely replied, it doesn't matter. The road is not far. This is true. Lydia lives in an upscale residential area, which is only 10 minutes drive from my home. Damon replied, thank you for your hard work. Good night. I replied with good night and ignored it. I thought to myself that what I heard at Damon's house just now must have been an illusion. I was probably too busy these past few days and had mental problems. I changed into my pajamas and lay back on the bed exhausted. I fell asleep in a daze and dreamed about the scene when I first met Damon when I was young. When I was 15, my parents died and my aunt adopted me. My aunt lives in a wealthy villa area. The neighbors are all rich young men and rich young ladies. I don't fit in with them. I usually stay in my room to study and rarely go out. My aunt has a cousin who is 2 years younger than me. At that time, I was preparing for the college entrance examination. She said she wanted to go to the sports park next to the community to watch basketball and insisted that I accompany her. I was living under someone else's roof and it was hard to refuse, so I had to take my review materials and go with her. On the basketball court, 6 boys are playing bullfighting. I had no interest in watching the game and just sat on the sidelines reading a book. My cousin would pull my arm from time to time, saying that the boy in black was so handsome and had excellent basketball skills. The young man in black was Damon. My cousin went there for him. There were many little girls among the onlookers, all of whom were fans of Damon. 02. As they were playing, the basketball flew to the sidelines and almost hit me. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and blocked it with my hand. Damon ran over and took the ball back while apologizing. During the halftime break, my cousin urged me to go find Damon for his contact information. I am afraid of this. Under the coercion and inducement of my cousin, I gritted my teeth and added Damon as a friend, and then pushed the message to my cousin. From then on, my cousin would drag me to watch Damon play basketball every now and then. When she found out that he was our neighbor and lived in the same community, she became even more excited and shouted that she must pursue Damon. Damon has outstanding looks and is the heir to a large company. There are many girls chasing after him, so my cousin doesn't have much of an advantage. Later, as the college entrance examination was approaching, I no longer accompanied her to watch the game. My cousin came back and kept talking, saying that Damon talked to her today and asked why she hadn't seen me recently. My cousin told him that I was going to take the college entrance examination, and he just said, "Oh," and ignored her. My cousin said half-heartedly, "I always thought he liked to look at me when he was playing basketball, and I thought he was looking at me. Could it be that he was actually looking at you?" My cousin has recently become obsessed with BL novels. She likes to read gay novels and do whatever she wants. I didn't take it seriously at all. Anyway, I met Damon because of my cousin. All the information I knew about Damon came from my cousin. She found out that Damon's father died early and the family business was supported by his mother. His mother was ruthless and had controlled her husband's family relatives completely, and no one could shake Damon's position. My cousin also complained self-indulgently, "Oh, it seems that my future mother-in-law is a powerful figure. It seems that being her daughter-in-law is a tough job. I'd better think about it." Later, I was admitted to university and only went back to my aunt's house occasionally, and I had even less contact with Damon. Later, he found out that I was a doctor and offered me a high price to treat Lydia, and that's when our relationship became closer. After waking up, I felt dizzy and rubbed my temples, muttering to myself, "I dreamed about that guy all night. What's going on?" I got up, washed and freshened up to wake myself up as quickly as possible. On weekdays, there is never a moment of leisure in the hospital. I went back to do rounds early in the morning and followed up on a few more patients, and before I knew it, it was already noon. A female senior in the same office once again offered to introduce me to someone. "Wesley, last time I told you about my classmate's sister. Why don't you take some time to meet her? She's pretty and gentle, and she's also an elementary school teacher. She's a perfect match for you." My senior is always very caring towards me, and I couldn't refuse his kindness, so I nodded and agreed. "Okay, thank you. I'm free these days, we can meet." She was overjoyed and immediately arranged a blind date for the next day. I have never had a girlfriend. Firstly, I am too much of a homebody and have a small circle of friends. Secondly, I focus all my attention on work and study and have no pursuit of love life. In the past, some girls pursued me, but they were all discouraged by my taciturn personality. The meeting place was in an antique Chinese restaurant, and the girl and I sat face to face. The other person's name is Nora. She is 1 year younger than me and is very gentle and pretty. Nora seemed quite pleased with me and talked to me shyly. I responded politely and was a little absent-minded. I don't know why, but no matter how gentle and lovely a beautiful woman is, I can't muster any interest. I even start to wonder if there's something wrong with my sexual orientation. I politely picked up the small teapot to pour tea for Nora and heard a familiar voice behind me. "Wesley." I turned back and met Damon's gloomy face. He was accompanied by an assistant, and it looked like he was here for a social event. "Damon, hello?" I stood up to greet him, and Damon quickly glanced at Nora across from me. His inner voice came back into my head. Who is this woman? Is she his girlfriend? When did he start dating? I was slightly stunned, and Damon joked, "Did you disturb Wesley's date with his girlfriend?" Nora blushed in embarrassment. I don't know why I didn't want Damon to misunderstand me, so I explained, "No, this is also the first time I met Nora." Damon's inner voice came again. "He's on a blind date? Is he getting married? What should I do then?" 03. My heart was pounding and I wanted to tell myself that it was just an illusion. But Damon's brows were slightly furrowed, and his eyes were getting colder, which I couldn't ignore. I interrupted. Damon, are you still busy? Let's eat together sometime. Well, I won't bother you anymore. After Damon left, Nora couldn't help but ask me excitedly, was that Damon just now? Do you know each other? I just said, there have been some contacts. Nora said with longing, I've seen him in the financial news, but I didn't expect him to be so handsome in person. She paused, and then changed her words in an attempt to cover up the truth. No, I mean, you're actually handsome too. You two are different types. I didn't care about it at first, but after she explained it that way, it seemed like I was being overly suspicious. I'm not good at speaking, so I just hummed and didn't say anything, and the atmosphere became awkward for a moment. After the dishes came, we chatted casually. While they were eating, Damon's assistant Malcolm came in hurriedly. Wesley, Damon is choking. Go check it out. Choked? I stood up suddenly and followed Malcolm into the box. Damon sat in his seat, clutching his throat, his face turning purple and struggling to breathe. His clients anxiously patted him on the back. I immediately judged that he had a foreign object stuck in his throat. I rushed over decisively and pulled Damon up. I hugged his waist from behind, found the position 2 fingers above his navel, placed my left fist on his abdomen, and covered my fist with my right hand. I tightened my arms, thrust my fists upward and backward, and slammed 4 times with great force. I used the Heimlich maneuver, which was very effective. Damon spat out a shrimp ball with a whoosh. He was in a trance, breathing in the precious air in big gulps. I felt his pulse to make sure he was out of danger. Damon, what do you think? I asked, stroking his back. Damon still had tears in his eyes. He panted. No, I'm fine. Thank you. His inner voice came again. My wife saved me. He still has me in his heart. Woo-hoo. A doctor is like a caring parent. Even if the person who was choking today was a stranger, I would still save him. How could Damon be so easily moved? I felt a little guilty and said, that's good. Drink some warm water to calm down. If there's nothing else, I'll... Damon thought to himself, don't go. I don't allow you to date that girl. He immediately squinted his eyes and made a painful expression. My heart is beating fast and I feel a little dizzy. Damon pretended to faint, so I reached out to hold him up. I got to hug my wife. I'm so happy. Damon appeared to be a weak patient, but in his heart he was happily singing Huagu opera. He put one hand on my shoulder and put all his weight on me. Damon was half a head taller than me, and I could hardly support myself, so I had to let him sit down. I thought to myself, you are such a good pretender. But I didn't want to expose him. Who knows where the voice in my head came from? Maybe I was really hallucinating due to overtiredness. I had no choice but to go down the hill. Damon, if you still feel unwell, why don't you go to the hospital for a detailed checkup? Damon immediately responded, don't bother, Wesley. Just help me take a look. But his inner thoughts at this moment were clearly, I don't want to go to the hospital. I want my wife to take care of me. How can I miss such a good opportunity? Who is your wife? I was so ashamed and angry. It was so embarrassing for a grown man like me to be called wife by another man. Also, Damon, don't you already have Lydia? You are two-timing, and you are popular with both men and women? I am extremely disgusted by this. But I still have to accompany my friends. I was thinking of an excuse to decline his offer, but Nora, who had been watching the situation from the outside, suddenly interrupted. Wesley, since Damon needs you, I'll take my leave now. You take care of Damon first. 04. Damon laid his head on my chest, pretending to be exhausted. Nora had a very happy expression on her face and waved goodbye to me. With no excuse to get out of this situation, I was stuck in a dilemma and had to go with Malcolm to send Damon home. The 300 square meter luxurious river view room was empty. I thought Lydia would come out to greet me and I would be able to get away after completing the transaction. Damon, where's Lydia? Should we call her and ask her to come back? After hearing my question, Damon started to wonder. I finally have some time alone with my wife. Who wants Lydia to be a light bulb? I usually let her pretend to be sick so that I can see my wife. This statement contained so much information that I was dumbfounded after hearing it. Lydia was pretending to be sick before? Did Damon ask her to do this just to see me? What is this about? Damon didn't know that his image in my eyes had already collapsed. He said calmly, "Oh, she doesn't usually live here. You don't have to mind it too much. What is your relationship with Lydia?" I almost blurted out this question. Damon seemed to notice that something was wrong with my expression, and he immediately pinched his throat and pretended. "I feel like my throat is uncomfortable again. Is it because of the foreign body that I didn't clear out?" "Keep pretending." I looked at it coldly and said in a deep voice, "Why don't you go to the hospital for emergency treatment, Damon? My ability is limited and my diagnosis is not detailed enough." Damon quickly changed his words. "Ah, so late. No need to bother you. Sorry for interrupting your rest time. I'll pay you according to your usual consultation fee, right?" As soon as he mentioned money, I instantly lost my confidence. Normally, I collect tens of thousands of dollars from Damon, and now I'm still showing off in front of my financial sponsor. I really have no self-awareness. No matter what Damon thinks, I can't fall out with him for the sake of my reputation. I quickly slowed down my tone. "It's not a serious problem. Have a good rest tonight." Damon is quick to respond. "I'm still scared when I think about what happened just now. I'm afraid I'll feel uncomfortable at night. Wesley, why don't you stay tonight?" I froze, Damon's true thoughts flooding into my mind. He was ecstatic in his heart and shouted, "Wife, please stay with me. I want to spend the night with you." I subconsciously knew that I couldn't agree to him, but the words of refusal came to my lips and circled on the tip of my tongue for a few times, but I couldn't say them out. Damon looked at me with wet eyes, longingly. I thought again about the transfer Damon made to me. Forget it. How can a person go against money just for dignity? I just do it for the money, that's it. I convinced myself and said, "Okay, I'll just sleep in the living room." "It's okay, you can sleep in the room next to mine." Damon was overjoyed and ran to make the bed for me. At night, I dreamed of the past again. It was the weekend, and as usual, I went with my cousin to watch Damon play basketball. He was agile, grabbed rebounds, dribbled past opponents, made fake moves, and scored goals all in one go. When he landed, Damon's ankle suddenly twisted, and then he fell to the ground, holding his calf in pain. The game was forced to be interrupted and teammates gathered around. My cousin pulled me forward with concern. Damon insisted, "No, it's okay. I just had a cramp." His teammates stretched him to relax, but their technique was incorrect. Damon was grimacing in pain and his face was as white as paper. I couldn't bear to watch it, so I volunteered to step forward. "I know how to massage. Let me try." I squatted down and took off his sneakers, asked him to put his legs on my knees, and used my thumbs to massage the Changshan point on his calf. Damon's expression gradually relaxed, and he panted softly, "Thank you, Wesley." "You're welcome. It's just a small favor." I was about to stand up when Damon suddenly grabbed my arm, and I lost my balance and fell on him. As soon as I raised my head, Damon kissed me tightly. 05. It felt so real that I could even feel his hot breath on my nose. The surrounding scene seemed to be shrouded in fog, and Damon and I were the only ones left in the world. I was filled with shame and anger. My blood was boiling, and I twisted my body to struggle, but my chest felt as if being pressed by a huge rock. I struggled hard and finally opened my eyes. I looked at the dim ceiling and breathed slightly. Oh my God, how could I have such a shameless dream? It's all because of Damon's inexplicable thoughts, which made me lose my mind. I touched my lips unconsciously. Is this an illusion? My lips feel wet, as if they were really kissed. I cursed, turned over, and pulled the quilt over my head. When Damon woke up the next day, his housekeeper had already prepared breakfast. Damon sat across from me, seemingly eating his oatmeal seriously, but his inner thoughts were, "It's so happy to have breakfast with my wife. Feels like we are living together. When will my wife live with me?" I tried to hypnotize myself, This is just an auditory hallucination. This is an auditory hallucination. Today is the weekend and I don't have to be on duty. So I was thinking of going home and staying at home after breakfast. Damon suddenly asked me, Wesley, my company is holding a team building today and we need medical personnel to be present. Is it convenient for you to come with us? Still want to be with Damon? If this continues, I feel like I'm going to become gay. I was about to decline when Damon's inner thoughts came to me. If he's willing to go, would 50,000 yuan be too little for me to pay him? 50,000? I swallowed my refusal and replied again. Sure. I have nothing to do today. Damon screamed in his heart again. I can spend time with my wife again. He smiled and said, Okay then, I'll give you 50,000 yuan as a fee for following the team. Is that okay with you? Sure. I cover my conscience and do this to make money for a living. It's not shameful. Damon took out a set of custom sportswear for me, and I put it on and set off with him. The location of the team building is the Huguanjian Natural Scenic Area, which is known as the Natural Oxygen Bar. After arrival, we signed in first, followed by a group photo and warm-up games. To show their closeness to the people, all leaders wear the same clothes as their employees. To my surprise, I saw Lydia in the crowd. She also saw me and greeted me with a nod and smile from a few people away. I nodded slightly in response. Judging from how Lydia interacts with other people, she should be just an ordinary employee. I unconsciously looked at Damon not far away. He was talking to several men and had no eye contact with Lydia. You pretend to be strangers in front of others, but live together behind others' backs. Are you having a secret relationship? For some reason, I felt a sour taste in my heart. Yesterday Damon said that Lydia would not live in his house, which means that they can spend every day together at work. What made Lydia pretend to be sick just to see me? Turned out to be just my imagination. Very well, from now on, I will block out Damon's so-called voice. I made up my mind. However, is my wife spying on me? My wife wore the company's custom-made sportswear, so we were wearing couple outfits. If my wife lived with me, I would buy a lot of home clothes and pajamas and wear the same clothes as her every day. I really want to go and have some time with my wife. Why do Damon's thoughts invade my mind so overwhelmingly? I suddenly realized that I might have been possessed by some dirty thing. No, as a doctor, I have to use modern medicine to explain these abnormal phenomena. If you have time someday, go ask your colleagues in the psychiatry department. In order not to be affected by Damon's inner voice, I scrolled through my phone to divert my attention and occasionally took time to check on the situation on the field. A multiplayer skipping rope competition was being played on the large lawn, with laughter and joy ringing in the ears. Damon is an athlete with a sturdy figure, which makes the female employees scream with joy. I seem to see him playing basketball when he was young. Damon is always the focus of the crowd wherever he goes. He is the center of attention and a favored child of heaven, which is completely different from me. I continued to look at my phone while multitasking. A netizen from the same city broke the news on the Xiafanshu app, saying that there was a crazy person around the Huguanjian area and asked tourists to pay attention to safety. Madman? I was about to click it to take a closer look when I heard an exclamation from the audience. Ah! 06. It turned out that the team Lydia was in was stuck on the rope, and several people fell down. The logistics staff quickly helped them to the rest area, and I carried the medicine box over to check on them. Most people were fine, but Lydia had delicate skin and her hands and arms were scratched and blood was oozing out. I squatted down to clean her wound. Lydia was tearful but trying hard to hold back the pain. Whenever she gets a minor injury, Damon would rush to call me for a visit. Wouldn't he be heartbroken this time? While I was thinking, Damon came over. Is everything all right? Damon asked in a calm tone. I said without turning my head. The dermis has been injured. Pay attention to anti-inflammatory treatment and clean it with iodine every day. If it is treated well, it will not leave scars. Lydia said softly, Thank you, Wesley. Sorry to bother you again. Fine. The female employee next to her heard it with her sharp ears. Gossipingly asked, Hey Lydia, do you know Wesley? Lydia blushed slightly and glanced at Damon guiltily. Yes, yes. Another female employee approached. How come I haven't heard of you mentioning such a handsome doctor friend? The employee who first asked the question joked. Of course handsome guys have to hide. Otherwise they will be snatched away. Lydia looked embarrassed, but I didn't take it seriously. However, Damon behind me was furious. You guys are kidding. Wesley is mine. Lydia, you need to explain this to them. If people mistakenly think that you and Wesley are a couple, I will never forgive you. I'm sweating profusely. Damon, are you okay? Shouldn't I be the one you're angry at? Damon's anger spread, and I felt like I was on edge, not daring to look back at him. Lydia stammered. No, that's not it. Wesley and I are just ordinary friends. Damon continued. Wesley is my friend. Lydia has only met him a few times. The big boss spoke, and the two female employees echoed with, oh. Your relationship is so messy, I don't want to get involved. I quickly put a band-aid on Lydia and stayed away from the trouble. After a round of warm-up exercises, the next step is cycling. The employees divided into several groups, rode tandem bicycles, and headed to the barbecue site on the mountain. I was assigned to a group with Damon. We rode on a tandem bicycle, one in front and one behind. In order to stop hearing Damon's inner voice, I put Bluetooth headphones in my ears and turned the volume up to the maximum. The effect was immediate, and the only sound in my ears was the music. When we first set out, there were many employees around us, but as we rode along, everyone kept their distance. Damon and I were in the first tier, way ahead. Not long after, the originally bright sunshine disappeared, and the dark clouds above head rolled in like ink staining rice paper. Gusts of wind blew up the fallen leaves and fine sand on the ground, and the branches and leaves rustled. Is it going to rain? It was sunny and windy just now, but the weather in summer changes so quickly. Damon and I both pedaled faster. Soon, raindrops fell down with a crackling sound. It was raining heavily and the air was filled with humidity. Damon and I made it to a small pavilion in time to take shelter from the rain. We were both out of breath. Melodies were still playing in my ears, blending in with the sound of the dripping rain. The hurricane swept the rain into the pavilion. Damon and I had to hide inside the pavilion. Damon naturally put his arm around my shoulders and said in a protective manner, "Come closer to me. Don't get your clothes wet." It doesn't matter if it gets wet. I stepped away to avoid suspicion. I don't know what's going on in this kid's mind, so I pushed my earphones inwards to make sure I wouldn't hear anything I shouldn't. A flash of white lightning suddenly tore through the sky, followed by a burst of thunder. Snap! The huge roar made the entire mountain range tremble. I was so scared that my heart was in my throat. I forgot that Damon was next to me. I curled up my head and hid to the side without thinking too much. 07. Damon immediately wrapped his arms around me and held me in his arms. I have been afraid of thunder since I was a child, let alone such a deafening thunder, which almost scared me to death. The next second I realized I had lost my composure. It's embarrassing enough for a grown man to be afraid of thunder, but he also tries to get into the arms of another man. Where can I put my face? My cheeks were burning, and I quickly left Damon's arms, but he didn't let go. It's okay. I'll cover your ears for you, I said stubbornly. It's nothing. It's just too loud. I'm a little. As he was speaking, lightning flashed before his eyes again. Snap! The thunder seemed to be striking right above my head. I was so frightened that I threw myself into Damon's arms again. The movement was so violent that I didn't even notice the earphones fell to the ground. Damon's unique scent lingered around me. He held me tightly with one hand and covered my ears with the other. It's okay. It's okay. I'm here. The gentle whispers, the pat on the back, and the warm embrace all give me a complete sense of security. My throat choked and my chest was filled with an indescribable feeling, sour and bitter, mixed with a little bit of emotion. When I was a child, my parents were busy with work and rarely took care of me. Ever since I was old enough to understand, I often slept alone at home. Many times it rained in the middle of the night and I was awakened by thunder. I cried and called for my parents, but the only response I got was the darkness and silence in the room. In the end, I could only wrap myself in a blanket, hide in the closet or under the bed, and sob quietly while holding back my fear. My father once said that a real man sheds blood, not tears. If he knew that I was afraid of thunder, he would definitely beat me up. I learned to hide my emotions at a young age. When I was 15, my parents died in a car accident. My family went through a huge change, but I just had tears in my eyes. I have long been accustomed to facing difficulties and sufferings alone. I never expected others to be my support. I was still feeling sorry for myself when Damon's inner voice came through again. My wife is afraid of thunder? She looks cool on the outside but is fragile on the inside. I love this cute contrast. I really want to hold her in my arms and protect her. Damn it, why did I hear it again? Only then did I realize that my headphones had fallen off. I reached out to pick it up with trembling hands, and Damon was very considerate and kept covering my ears. I feel ashamed. I'm sorry to trouble you. Damon stroked my hair soothingly and said softly, "It's okay. Everyone has their own little weaknesses. There's nothing shameful about being afraid of thunder. I have weaknesses too. I'm especially afraid of spiders." Is that so? Spiders are indeed quite creepy. I gradually relaxed. Damon and I shared our little secrets with each other, and we felt like we were closer. However, I feel somewhat fortunate that the target is him. If it were someone else, I would be even more socially frustrated. The rain gradually subsided and the sky became brighter. Occasionally there were bursts of thunder in the sky, but they were quite far away. My ears turned red and I pushed Damon away. "Damon, thank you." Damon reluctantly let me go, and I turned my head away, not daring to look him in the eye. Damon said slowly, "Wesley, don't be so formal with me. Just call me Ashung." I smiled awkwardly. Okay. I just can't change it right now. You should start to change your way of speaking now, and you will get used to it slowly." He coaxed. "How about you try calling me Ashung now?" "Now? Kind of." I was just about to say that I was a little embarrassed when I heard a rustling sound in the grass beside me. A dark figure jumped out. Damon immediately alertly protected me behind him. The man was unkempt and bearded, wearing a dirty vest and big shorts, flip-flops, and emitting a foul odor. A homeless person? I was wondering when the other party suddenly took out a pistol from his trouser pocket. "Don't move." Damon and I both froze. He actually had a weapon in his hand. Damon raised his hand to show weakness. "Brother, what do you want?" "Don't shoot, we'll obey you." Damon's inner voice echoed. A wise man never suffers a loss in front of him. If he wants money, we should cooperate with him, but we can't let him hurt his wife. At this critical moment, he still considered me first. My heart was warmed, and it would be a lie to say I wasn't touched. The tramp pointed at us and said, "You too. Give me a kiss." 08. Damon and I looked at each other in disbelief. A kiss? Is that what we understood? I've never heard of a robber making such an absurd request. Seeing us standing there in a daze, the homeless man impatiently shook his rod and shouted, "Kiss me quickly, or I'll shoot you." Damon quickly replied, "Kiss. Kiss right now." He pulled me in front of him and whispered, "I'm sorry to have wronged you." I was speechless. He was clearly cheering good deal in his heart. I realized that this robber was not a normal person. By the way, I just saw a post on Xiafanshu saying that there was a madman in this area. Could it be the person in front of me? I closed my eyes and said, "It's okay. Kiss me." Damon held my cheeks with his hands devoutly and kissed me softly on my lips. Damn, this is my first kiss. It actually disappeared under such circumstances. Forget it. Men don't need to care about these things. My whole body was tense and I only felt the warm touch pressing against my mouth for a moment, without even having time to savor it. Damon let go of me as if he had been electrocuted, and from that moment on, I could no longer hear his voice. Damon asked the homeless man, "Is this okay?" The tramp yelled unsatisfied, No. Kiss again. French kiss. Oh my God. You still know how to French kiss?" I was dumbfounded. Damon immediately cooperated. French kiss, huh? Okay, I'll show you right now. I thought to myself, Damon, why are you so obedient? I think you have been planning this for a long time. Without waiting for my response, Damon wrapped his arms around my waist again, cupped the back of my head with one hand and kissed me. Compared to the light kiss just now, this time the kiss was more domineering and fierce. Damon's tongue went straight into my mouth, which was slightly open due to surprise. He was breathing rapidly, and his lips pressed hard against my lips, gradually getting heavier and deeper. All the blood in my body rushed to my head, and I felt dizzy. I couldn't help but hug his neck and responded to him awkwardly. The sweet and smooth saliva caressed our entangled tongues, and we kissed till we lost ourselves in the kiss. The tramp clapped his hands and danced crazily as he ran into the rain. The crisis was resolved, but Damon still held on to me and refused to let go. I quickly moved my lips away and held his wrist. All right, stop. Damon took great effort to suppress his desire. He wiped his face and tried his best to wake himself up. I swallowed my saliva. My lips were numb from sucking so hard just now. I don't know what kind of restricted scenes are going through Damon's mind right now. Luckily, I can't hear them now, but at the same time, I also feel a little disappointed. Oh, I will never be able to figure out what he is thinking again. Damon frantically pulled out his phone. That man has a weapon in his hand. Let's call the police. Yes, call the police immediately. I nodded repeatedly. An hour later, Damon, several other employees, and I went to the police station to take our statements. It turns out that we were not the only ones who encountered that homeless guy. Several employees were also attacked by him. The police confirmed that the man was the madman who was recently exposed on the internet. The two female employees' cheeks were red and swollen, and they cried. He threatened us to slap each other or he would shoot us. It's not enough to just hit lightly, you have to hit loudly enough. Another pair of male employees narrated the case with sad faces. He asked us to sing to him while standing on our heads. He wants to hear the most dazzling ethnic music, and if he makes a mistake in singing a line, he has to start over. I was sweating when I heard the Lushan waterfall. In comparison, the requests that the madman made to Damon and me were considered polite. The police officer asked us, "What about you? What did the suspect ask of you?" 09. I was at a loss for words, but Damon said confidently, "He asked us to kiss, and it had to be a French kiss." He spoke every word clearly and did not feel embarrassed at all. The employees nearby were stunned when they heard this. The police officer's face froze and he coughed uncomfortably. "Anything else?" "No, he left after we kissed him." Damon didn't blush or breathe heavily, but I was so embarrassed that I wanted to find a hole to hide in. I really want to yell at him, "Speak more quietly, is that honorable?" The police quickly carried out the arrest, locked the target through surveillance, and brought the madman to justice. It turned out that he only had an imitation gun in his hand. Fortunately, no casualties were caused and the victims were only relieved of their alarm. Because of this accident, the team building could not continue. Damon asked the finance department to give each employee 500 yuan and let them use it for their own activities, which won cheers from everyone. Damon drove me back and we encountered heavy rain on the way. While waiting for the red light at the intersection, he suddenly asked me, "It's getting late. Why don't you come to my house tonight? I'll ask Auntie to prepare dinner." I still have to get along with him? I'm afraid my heart won't be able to take it. Sorry to trouble you any further. I'd better go back to my home. It's okay. I implicated you today. Let me make it up to you. It's not your fault. When I thought of that passionate kiss, my heart started beating so fast that I dared not speak anymore. Damon interrupted. "Are you satisfied with the girl you dated yesterday? Why is he asking this suddenly?" At this moment, I felt extremely regretful that I could never hear Damon's voice again. It turns out that not being able to guess his thoughts makes me so anxious. I don't want to beat around the bush, so I'll be frank. The other party's conditions were very good, but I didn't feel attracted to him, so I declined. I just told my senior on WeChat that Nora and I are not suitable. The main reason is that I am now disturbed by this guy Damon. I can't waste his time without making my own orientation clear." Damon heaved a sigh of relief after hearing what I said. It seemed that he was very satisfied with my reply. "I really want to ask, what's going on between you and Lydia?" The light turned green at that moment, and I didn't want to interfere with his driving, so I had to swallow my words back. Damon really took me back to his house, and after parking the car in the underground garage, I hesitated. I asked myself, "Wesley, what's wrong with you? A kiss turns you gay? Just give your heart to someone else?" Those voices in your heart might just be hallucinations caused by schizophrenia. That kiss was just an accident. Damon saw me sitting still in the car and came over to help me open the door. "Wesley, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Without. I unbuckled my seatbelt and got out of the car in a depressed mood. Damon walked towards the elevator hall with a cheerful pace, and I spoke quietly behind him. "Damon, I won't bother you anymore. I'll just take a cab home. Bye." After being single for 27 years, how could I fall so easily? I thought about going back and calming down and sorting out my feelings. Damon was stunned, and he hurriedly grabbed me. "Don't go back. It's raining so hard that you can't get a taxi. I can't bother you anymore." "How can this be a bother? I would love to. If you really want to go back, let me take you there." He was so anxious that he was a little incoherent. I said seriously, "No, Damon. Lydia was injured today and she needs your care. You should stay with her more." Damon suddenly realized. "You mean Lydia? So it's her you care about." I shook his hand off, and Damon quickly grabbed me back. "Wesley, listen to me first. My relationship with Lydia is not what you think." I pushed him away a little and waited quietly for him to speak. Damon had a look of enlightenment. "Well, I'll let Lydia explain it to you in person, and you'll understand." "Come in person?" I was surprised. Damon pulled out his phone. "She lives in the building next to mine." "Wait, I'll ask her to come over right away." 10. Damon persuaded me to go home, and a few moments later, Lydia came to my house. She was wearing slippers and home clothes, and she complained as soon as she entered the door. "Brother, didn't you catch Wesley? And you let me do this." When Lydia saw me in the room, her voice suddenly stopped. "Ah, Wesley, you're here too." She smiled awkwardly, and I was surprised by how she addressed Damon. Did she just call Damon brother? Damon couldn't wait to say, "Lydia, what is your relationship with me? Please explain it to Wesley." Lydia pointed at herself and Damon. "Are you sure? Can you tell me? Tell me. Otherwise, why would I ask you to come here?" Lydia took a deep breath and told me the truth under my expectant gaze. "Well, actually, Damon and I are half-siblings. This is a secret that must not be made public. So I have been hiding it from you, Wesley." This answer is a resounding one. They are clearly the sponsor and the canary. How come they suddenly become brother and sister? Damon provided additional information on the remaining situations. It turned out that Damon's father died when he was 3 years old, and his mother ran the family business alone. She was under too much pressure and drank too much, and had a one-night stand with a strange man outside, who knew that just after that one time, she would become pregnant with Lydia. Damon's mother couldn't make up her mind to abort her, so she went abroad and secretly gave birth to the child. At that time, in order to protect Damon's kingdom, Damon's mother was fighting for power with his uncles. She was afraid that Lydia would become a stumbling block for Damon, so she kept her abroad. Later, Damon took over the business and established a solid foundation. His mother retired successfully, but the only thing she was worried about was Lydia. Damon did not blame his mother. He felt that there was nothing wrong with having another sister, so he took Lydia back and recruited her into the group. Damon originally wanted to train Lydia to be his right-hand man, but her talent was mediocre and she was not worthy of being reused. He couldn't do anything about her, so he had to let her work as an ordinary employee. The house Damon lives in now was originally bought for Lydia. Damon explained shyly, "The first time I asked you to come for a house call was because Lydia accidentally got burned while cooking at home. I remembered that you lived nearby, So I took this opportunity to get close to you. So I asked you to come and treat her. I remembered that the first time I treated Lydia was more than a year ago. It was due to burns. Lydia interjected. My brother has always had a crush on you, but he was afraid that he would scare you, so he used me as a shield. Later, every time he missed you, he asked me to pretend to be sick and forced me to move next door and take over this house just to be closer to you. I am so miserable as a matchmaker. Damon glared at her and Lydia stuck out her tongue playfully. When I learned that he and Lydia were siblings, it suddenly became clear to me. Wow, what I heard from Damon before was all genuine. Even though I was mentally prepared, I still felt unwilling to accept the thought of being fooled by them. I said awkwardly, "How can you be so deceiving?" Damon took my hand and said flatteringly, "I'm sorry for lying to you for so long. It was mainly because of Lydia's special identity that I never found a good opportunity to tell you. Today, I finally got it out to you." My heart was beating like a drum and my face was flushed. Lydia applauded. "It's really different after kissing. Can I retire now?" I looked at her in surprise, and Damon asked my question. "How do you know we kissed?" Lydia waved her phone. "It's all spread in the group. You guys were threatened by a lunatic." The domineering Damon kissed the cool Wesley. "The girls are all rooting for you too." "Huh? How presumptuous of you. How could such a shameful thing be spread? Do I still want to be a human being?" I wailed internally. Seeing that I was about to break down, Damon quickly kicked Lydia out. He pulled me to the sofa in a daze and I sat on his lap. Damon hugged me and kept comforting me, telling me not to care about other people's opinions. I finally mustered up the courage to face reality. "Have you had feelings for me for a long time? And you even called me wife behind my back." After I finished speaking, my face turned red, but I still had to confirm that what I heard before was not an illusion. Damon was stunned for a moment, then readily admitted, "Ah, yes, I've had a crush on you since high school, and I've always considered you my future wife." "Where did you hear that? Did I let it slip?" "Since high school," I gasped. Turns out that what my cousin said about Damon being interested in me wasn't groundless. Damon held me and rocked me. "Yes, you were my first love. At that time, you were sitting on the sidelines reading a book. You were wearing a white shirt, black hair, and red lips. Your little face was sparkling in the sun. I was so fascinated by it. I was so excited when you added me as your friend. But it turns out you were just trying to help your cousin. But never mind, you didn't understand at that time." The more I listened, the more ashamed I felt, and he kept on chattering. "Every time you come to watch a game, I play really hard, but you barely even notice me. Once I had a cramp and you came over to massage me. I was thinking, how come even your fingers are so beautiful? I made up my mind at that moment that I must have you. That night I dreamed that I kissed you." "Oh, I sneaked into your room and kissed you last night. Didn't you notice?" I couldn't bear to listen anymore and covered his mouth. "Okay, stop. We were just ordinary friends the day before yesterday, but we kissed twice in one night." The jump was so big that it was hard for me to accept the reality. Damon pulled my hand down and said in a sly voice, "Honey, you don't hate me, right? When I kissed you in the pavilion just now, I felt that you reacted." "Shut up. Why are you calling me wife?" I was so ashamed and angry that I couldn't speak clearly. Damon teased me deliberately. "Oh, you don't like calling me wife? Then, honey, shut up." Very good. At least it proves that what I heard before was Damon's true voice. I'm not schizophrenic. I'm normal. As for why I suddenly lost my hearing, I didn't try to find out. We have both confirmed each other's feelings, so it doesn't matter whether you can hear it or not.